You talk about our close proximity to each other and the advantage that you have of being able to get to that experience center and see all those great solutions and all those great tools, and you get the benefit of Zebra expertise, whether it's a subject matter expert on the devices themselves or the solutions that we partner with ISVs and others on to bring all that together. But you can look at the candy store window and see all those wonderful things in that engagement center that we have and hope that, oh man, this is the thing that's going to solve my X, Y, and Z retail problem for me. Inventory management, cycle counting, customer self-service, whatever it is that the retailer is shooting for. It all that again falls apart if it's not delivered and ready to use when you want it to be in your store. And so I think we think about that briefing center on the Zebra side as an opportunity to bring all those things together, sit together in a room, understand the pain points that the retailer is trying to solve for, have the right people at the table to hear that and understand how to deliver a successful solution. And so I personally love being in the briefing center. I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of customers over the course of the year in various different retail verticals. They all have the same issues around how does fulfillment work? What are our labor concerns? How do we get enough people together to make sure that we can do all the fulfillment things that we want to do? How do we deliver in-store technologies? I don't know, mobile checkout or customer self-service or those types of things. And so we view that briefing center as the place to set up that conversation. It's not just the candy store where you get to sit and look at all the cool stuff. While you're sitting in the middle of all that, if you've not been to our briefing center, look for an opportunity to come. We have a big conference room in the middle of all these wonderful Zebra technologies, and we can drive just about any conversation out into those devices as you're sitting there looking at them from this conference room that's got nice glass walls in it in that briefing center. So some top of mind thoughts for me on that.
Yeah, it's impressive for sure, and it's great to take customers there or potential customers for us and for you. I also like the fact of the training that we could do as a partner there. So bringing on new technologies. I mean, maybe you could speak to this a little bit, Jim. We're having a lot of conversations around RFID implementation and what some retailers are looking to accomplish on that front. Can you maybe talk a little bit about Zebra's strategy and what you guys are trying to accomplish as a company, and maybe some use cases of what some retailers are using it for, or how are they using it?
Great question. I love to talk about RFID for sure. Um, Zebra, our strategy is to make sure that we understand one, where the retailer is, where you're starting in the RFID journey. And then that will help us position the right conversation for you. For instance, if you're in a vertical where you can take advantage of source tagging, right? We all think of that pretty commonly as ready to wear. Depending on the retailer, they have source tagging, they have hang tags in the space already. They're already probably taking advantage of some cycle counting at store level as an example. So we want to understand that. I want to make sure that we hear where you're at. Are you just getting started or are you advanced and you're looking for the next set of use cases? And then our strategy is to make sure we talk you through what we have in the hardware space, from mobile reading, from fixed reading, and then who our partners are in the space for software delivery and application delivery in the RFID environment, or what we can help you with ourselves. We'll bring the power of our RFID business unit to play. Right. So we have a lot of expertise in house. We're number one in the RFID reading space. We want to make sure we stay that way. And so part of that strategy is to make sure We understand where you're at, help you appropriately, add to that. There's things that we deliver and invest in Zebra. If you think about the new EM45 that we brought to bear in 2025, it's got short range RFID reading on it. You can see, within a meter from that handheld all the way through fixed overhead infrastructure and what that looks like, whether it's in a distribution center or fulfillment center or some combination thereof in the store. We want to talk through those scenarios and make sure we're setting you up for success in that space.
I think the people that have adapted it have adapted quickly and are utilizing it like they would any other technology that they currently have. For us as a company, it's the going back to the solutioning of what that end user is trying to accomplish. And if that is a strategy of theirs, there's a lot of buildup, as Jim just alluded to, and back end work that needs to be accomplished beforehand. But when you start talking about the infrastructure and installation pieces of everything that's associated with that, uh, you know, once you get that back end infrastructure taken care of and then the front end implementation, I think the most people that have that technology and are utilizing it would give a great review of it because it really cuts down on costs as far as labor, as cycle counting, those type things that ultimately hit people's bottom lines. And if you could be more efficient with repeatable, reliable outcomes, then you're really solving a lot of problems that retailers have. I mean, you're in the grocery space. What's the biggest thing and topic of conversation most of the time? It's shrink, right? Because product is walking out the door, or like Jim alluded to earlier, there wasn't something on the shelf that was supposed to be there. And RFID really helps with some of those things and inventories and product that's supposed to be there or is there and is easily countable. And those repeatable outcomes are what people are looking for. It's really easy to take that a step further and run analytics and have appropriate product and quantities on shelves and those type things that are a byproduct of the technology. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm seeing. Are you seeing some of the same things in grocery?
We're starting to see a little bit in grocery, Mike. We've got a use case with a specific grocery chain that's using it for pallet receiving. So when they receive goods, early in the morning, they can check in pallets much faster, much quicker, more accurately. So that's really helping their business. And again, also talking about labor and saving on labor, instead of needing 2 or 3 people to break down a pallet and what's on it and check it all in, they're able to do it with one person and a Zebra device, which is pretty cool.
I love the RFID conversation and just want to pause for a moment and think about what the technology is enabling. And for retailers that haven't had a chance to jump in, maybe because of the nature of the product that they sell or the industry that they're in, grocery comes to mind, right? You really have shifted to a conversation where I can track inbound pallets. I can know what's on that pallet. I do know where it is in the supply chain. I do trust that it arrived at the back door. I do know that I'm saving labor because I don't have to count every individual thing. I can use an RD40 or what, an RFID sled handheld combination to do that count for me. And so if I go back in time to when I first started in the RFID conversation until where we're at now, the solutions that partners like you bring to the table, the technology that Zebra has delivered on, you actually can enable this omni-channel journey and move toward this inventory. I've started introducing this word ahead of NRF this year. Precision. Inventory accuracy is something that we need. Precision in what you own is what is delivering against these customer use cases for whether it's personalization or that entire omni-channel experience that we kicked off this conversation with. RFID is the enabler. The infrastructure in the stores is the enabler. Folks like IW, you deliver that resilient network. You can install it. You can make sure it's there. You can make sure it works. And that's what a retailer needs to be able to deliver against this omni-channel promise. But at the core of all this is those technologies and that, RFID tags with an RFID device that can read it, whether it's mobile or fixed. If you think about the potential of where we can go in some place like grocery, there's other use cases starting to creep in. Our friends in Bentonville have pushed for RFID on all product. And when you see it show up on things like snow tires or fishing lures, you know that RFID is becoming a prevalent part of the retail experience, just like the barcode did 70 years ago. I love these types of discussions where we can highlight what each one of us is bringing to the table.